is Reinhild Niebuhr. I'm the founder of the Young Africa Vision. Welcome to this episode of Young Africa Today. In today's episode, I'm going to introduce you to three very interesting men. They all are from one company called Converge Solutions. These three guys are Johann Joubert, Kobus van der Merwe, and Jaco Cromhout. They formed a company called Converge Solutions under the leadership of Johann, who came up with the idea. And we had a very stimulating discussion, and I am really looking forward to introducing you to them. So here we go.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And thanks for the opportunity to be here. So as you said, I'm Johann Joubert. I'm the CEO of Converge. And with that, it's actually the Converge group of companies. We've got a bit of a diverse portfolio with various of the subsidiaries within the group focusing on different things. On the one hand, one of our focus areas is the healthcare industry. One of our other areas is, in fact, a fraud, waste, and abuse platform aimed at banking, financial, and medical insurance. We have an Internet of Things subsidiary, and then also focus into the fast-moving consumer goods space. And then to wrap all this up, we've got a suite of solutions focusing on cybersecurity.
That sounds incredibly impressive. I remember when we first had our introductory discussion in order to organize this interview, I said that I'm very proud of you guys, and I really am. It just is amazing to see a South African company that is able to offer a world-class software service and work with great enthusiasm in Africa. So I'm really excited to have you on this show. So maybe I'm going to just ask Kobus if you can just say a few words about your role in this company.
Yes, I'm Kobus van der Merwe. I'm the CFO of Converge. What I, however, try to do different than in my previous life, where I always worked in the finance departments, is I really try to understand our products. And so I play a support role, not only in making sure that the business cases and the commercials are working, but I also really try to understand the products so that I can explain to clients. I can pick up if there's opportunities whilst having other discussions with potential clients, and really also understand the clients' environments much better. So in the past, always very focused just on the figures and very internal focused, but I think that's probably about now 10% of my job, and 90% is more on the sales side and also trying to take us to market.
Well, you certainly sound like the dream CFO. I think many companies would like to have somebody who's not just focused on the figures, but actually understands the business. So nice to have you on the show. Jaco, if you can just say a few words.
Yes, my name is Jaco. I'm COO of Converge Solutions. But I think a title is just that, a title in this organization. As Kobus and Johann rightly said, running a startup, you need to play a few different roles, and you need to be able to shift between them in a manner that's almost seamless. So although I'm looking after the operations side of things, between the three of us, we're also very focused on certain areas within this business. For example, Johann is really our healthcare fundi. And then, Kobus and myself are focusing more on the fintech side, that being the fraud, waste, and abuse side, but also the focus on the blockchain side, and also IoT. And then Johann is again our leader from a fast-moving consumer goods perspective. But as he rightly said, we are all able to talk about every product, just from an elevator speech perspective. And then if we need to go into more detail, then it's usually the content owners between the three of us with our teams that will actually lead the discussions with potential clients or current customers. So interesting times in Converge, but it's great to be in the mix of things with these two guys next to me. I wouldn't like to have it any other way. I think we make a brilliant team. We do have our disagreements, but I think we do it in a constructive manner. And it's always for the best of the company. So there's no egos in this company. There's no, I'm the CEO, I'm the COO. As I said, we're all on the same level. And, that's why we work with people that's that's really senior, that really shares our vision, to provide quality services, solutions, products in Africa, from Africa. And I think that's why we have been quite successful, and being recognized as a successful startup as well by, a couple of entities, in America and, also in Europe. So that's me.
Well, thank you very much. I think what I'm picking up from this introduction is one point that Jaco, who is somebody who I interviewed a week ago, was also emphasizing, is that an entrepreneur can never be on their own. An entrepreneur needs a team. And it seems as if you three are a very entrepreneurial team. And I like starting these interviews with just sort of touching a little bit of base on why are we talking. And I know, Jaco, that you are the one that connected to me on LinkedIn. And I like to find out, what is it that caught your attention?
Yeah, I think from a Converge perspective, we very much firm believers in partnerships, and not always just IT partnerships. If you want to move forward and really make an impact, you need committed people that share your vision, but from different environments and industries. And when I actually read what you are busy with, and especially, with a focus on the young people of Africa, to really uplift them and provide them with opportunities, that's very much, in line with what we want to do as well. And if you have somebody that can share your vision, it makes it so much easier to penetrate difficult markets. Or, perhaps if you're in a specific country, it's always good to have or to know of people that you can utilize, whether it's from a sales perspective, delivery perspective, and then, of course, just the whole array of being able to support those people as well, and to, share our knowledge and, introduce our solutions and see if it can't make a difference to, really uplift them. And I think, when I looked at your profile, I actually saw, as I said, similarities in vision, but also, that you are a go-getter. And if you look at Kobus and at Johann, we go-getters. We're very positive. We believe in opportunities where other people see difficulty. And although it's not always plain sailing from our side, we are committed.
But just
to
keep
make
going.
this work.
Yes.
And,
Well, that's what. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. That's really great. Johann, I'm going to ask you, because I know that I then approached Jaco for an interview, and he had a chat with you. And what I would like to know is really, in terms of, I'm working towards what I call a Young Africa vision, and I'm not the developer of the vision as such. I believe that all of us in Africa need to participate in saying, so how do we want this continent to look like? Because if we don't know where we're going, we can't find the road. And so I just like to ask you, in terms of just broader, I know that you have a very clear vision about your business, but I'm going to ask you to just formulate a little bit about what's going on in your head around a vision for Africa.
Yeah, thanks, Reinhild. So I want to just start with what our company slogan is, which is imagine a world, now make it so. And in that context, that really encapsulates everything that we do from a vision perspective. Because for us, it's not only about a commercial discussion. Yes, we are a for-profit organization, and yes, we have mouths to feed, but we are also very much a value-driven organization. And it's my personal opinion that the world has changed unless you can articulate and live up to the values that you subscribe to as an organization, and especially the leadership team that needs to set the tone for the rest of the organization, you lose relevance. Simon Sinek says, find your why, as an example. So we need to understand what is the driving force behind what we do, because it's not so much what we do, but why we do it that I think is really important. And so what our vision is and why we started Converge, and maybe in that context, we all worked for a German multinational at some point. And it was a great learning curve for us. But at some point, we realized that a first world strategy and a third world application don't always marry. And so we decided that if we want to be the change that we feel is necessary and possible, by the way, for Africa, if we see that imagined tomorrow that is better, that ensures free, accessible healthcare, or at least affordable, accessible healthcare, a fraud-free world, a world where supply chain integrity and illicit trade becomes impossible through the application of Internet of Things, and so forth. So there's always something that ties our solutions back to an underlying principle that ultimately speaks to the elevation of the continent as a whole, but delivering services and solutions that service not just our customers, but the communities that they in turn serve. And so we have to be relevant in the African context, and not just deliver solutions, but serve Africa's people. And that, for me, resonated quite well with what you're doing in terms of the children, because yes, we might be delivering services to the adults or the parents right now, but the true beneficiaries, not just in terms of the services that we offer, whether that is affordable and reliable healthcare, but ultimately painting a better tomorrow will benefit the children.
I think what you are saying is so important. I also started understanding that there's a very key link between technology and accountability, which is very much around the values, being able to apply technology in such a way that it supports certain values of integrity, of being able to enforce values of honesty, of being able to enforce values of respect for property, things like that. It's just very interesting that we are in this time where we know that we are living in a time where the basic values that the Bible teaches us to have are completely ignored. And I think nothing made it clearer than what we had to go through in South Africa a couple of weeks ago. I think when I saw a young child carrying a bag of whatever, I think it was boxes of milk, during the looting phase here in South Africa, and have, the expression on that child's face, I just really wanted to burst into tears, because I just realized that this poor kid has absolutely no idea what it is doing. And it is so sad. It is so sad to think that we have so many people, and I'm not talking about South Africa. I know that there are other countries in Africa which have a very different Gini coefficient, but in general, we're sitting in Africa with a situation where we have a smaller group of people who have the ability to generate wealth, and a large group of people who are just really living sometimes under the breadline. And getting a message across that teaches our children and youth and everybody else who missed their lesson that it's about the values. It's if you choose to do the right thing that you can grow wealth. You can't grow wealth in an environment where somebody is always going to come and take it away from you. And I know that what is quite sad about the whole situation is that people who have money are able to protect themselves, but people who don't have money cannot protect themselves. And so I think that the technology that you have in terms of reinforcing the values-based system is actually just quite amazing, because we see a synergy between technology and values.
The way that I see it is that everything that we do ultimately has to drive towards some or other positive impact, whether that is for the societies we serve, whether that is for the longevity of an organization that again employs other people, and even in the context of the project that I'm helping my child with, it's at school at the moment, teaching her through the means of technology to instill responsible decision making because of the principle of causality. Every single thing that we do as leaders of an organization and leaders of a generation, we have the responsibility to make appropriate, and I'm going to refer to it as I see it, biblical decisions that support values.
Johann, I think that what you are mentioning is really so important. I think just one thing that you mentioned there that caught my attention, or maybe I should say that caught my heart, is the fact that you were talking about working and learning and helping your daughter. Influence of parents on their children has been removed so greatly, because everybody leaves the house early and comes back late. And there's an absolute gap. When I work with unemployed youth, I see the gap of parenting, that very often they have an absent father. Very often in South Africa, the mother is a domestic worker or works somewhere where she has to leave very, very early and comes home very late. And so there is this time where this child is on their own. And the whole opportunity for parenting is being affected by our structural design of our cities and our places where we work. And this is something that I think, which you touched on, is just to say, here's a guy, he's running a company, but he's taking the time to help his daughter learn. And this is something, I think, an absolute blessing that COVID-19 has probably created. So I don't know if you want to take that topic further, or if you want to have another point to add.
Yeah, so Reinhild, maybe a couple of points. The first thing is, yes, COVID has had a definite and quite dramatic impact on the workplace. It looks completely different today than it did 2 years ago. On the one hand, I think it creates more community between parents and children, because most of the parents are working from home at the moment. The risk, of course, is that people are constantly in each other's space as well. So it becomes a very deliberate focus to have a positive atmosphere at home. At any given point in time, my children can burst into a call, and how do I deal with it? That is really important. So, on the one hand, children need to learn their subjects at school. But on the other hand, and this is true for a household, it's true for Africa as a whole, people do what they see, not what they hear. And so we need to set the example to say, do we go off on our children, or do we act in a manner that is demeaning towards them? Or do we say to them, listen, we are all human. This is all a journey for us. We're all new in this, right? And so it is a matter of finding where you fit into this ecosystem and making the best of it, and not just saying lip service, but actually seeing it through. So that's the first topic. I think it's really important, not just the education part in terms of textbook education, but in terms of the demonstration of the values that we stand for in our everyday lives.
How to be.
Exactly.
And how to conduct yourself in any environment. Yeah.
Yes, we are human beings, not human doings, and therein lies our purpose. We need to be what we're set out to be. And I just want to add to what I was saying earlier. I think there is a desperate need for leaders that live up to what the purpose of a leader should be on the African context. And it's up to us and everyone else who has a similar value system to demonstrate to the world and to the youth that you don't need to be corrupt. You don't need to be narcissistic. You don't need to be served. In fact, to be a leader is to serve. And I think that's a concept that's got lost in the African leader space. And I don't want to go into the political side of things, but I mean, leadership it's a stewardship function, not a privilege. It's a responsibility towards the people that you serve. It's not that you're honored. You should be honoring the people around you. And as long as we remember that, and we're both proud of our achievements in the continent, but at the same time humble for having the opportunity to contribute back to communities, then I think we've learned something, and then we can start really impacting the youth. We don't have to be capitalistic, socialistic. I mean, we can be human and make a significant impact in the same time.
Thank you for that. Sorry, Jaco?
Sorry, Reinhild. Just want to say as well, a problem that we have seen with leaders, worldwide is it's very easy to put on a show or to say the right things to the right audience, but not a lot of people are willing to actually walk the walk. And I think this is what we have decided from a Converge Solutions perspective, is that we will not just be talking, we will be walking the walk as well. And to give you an example, you mentioned the looting in South Africa and, the little boy or girl, with the carton of milk. And, you can say that is looting and that is wrong, but you also need to look a little bit deeper to why that has happened. And again, not talking about the political side of things, but, there's a need to actually provide people with hope, with services, and to actually let them believe that there is a future and that they don't have to do that. And for example, what we have done is where everybody has saw just doom and gloom about the looting and the rand, has fallen and all those bad things. We sat down and said, how can we utilize our technology, for example, to assist in actually upbringing and provide services to those people desperately in need. And we might not have all the answers or all the solutions, but what we are doing is in our network, we brought together a number of people, and this will be our next project. Still a few things that we need to sort out, whereby via technology, we are connecting, for example, spaza shops with some of your big retailers, so that it becomes easier for people to be able to trade, to give the right pricing, and where it makes sense that the retailers and the manufacturers play a role as well to actually uplift. But you need somebody like a Converge solution, or as we say, the four of us, to actually have that vision, go to the people, incorporate it, and make sure that it becomes a reality. Otherwise, it's just a number of people talking and saying we can do this, but nothing happens. And we believe firmly you need to act now, and that's something that I'm very proud of.
That's very exciting. I must say that I really see a lot of space for collaboration in that sector specifically. I've worked a while ago with a number of spaza shop owners, with a network of spaza shop owners, and just unpacking the needs of providing goods into our communities so that everything isn't so incredibly expensive for people who live in underserved areas. I don't want to dwell on that point too much, because I wanted to pick up on another point, and that is really around the role that people who believe in the Bible can play in this context. Because I personally, really think that our church congregations are probably the most important network that we have across Africa, and that it is really infrastructure that is extremely valuable, and it should be used for more than a church service on a Sunday. It's not so much about the buildings, it's also about the people that are there. I have many friends overseas, and they all say to me, why are you still in South Africa? And apart from the fact that I just love it here, I also feel called to be here. I feel that I have a purpose to be here. I feel that there's a reason why my ancestors came here 160 whatever years ago, to share God's word and to help build society. And so I believe that I'm here because there's chaos. I'm here because there's chaos. If it was all in order, I didn't have to be here. But I'm here because there is a challenge, because there is looting, because there is hopelessness. That is why I'm here. And I can see you all smiling and agreeing that that's why you're here too. So for me, it's about saying that we as people who have been privileged with faith, with the gift of faith, but what can we do in our immediate neighborhood through our church congregation? I also am really encouraging young people across Africa to join a church, a church that looks as if they know what they're doing, and a church that doesn't ask for money to pray for them. So it's very much around just encouraging people to connect to the church. I'm even encouraging guys who are looking for a good woman to go and join a church, because where are you going to find a good woman? You want to build a life with a woman. You don't want to just have fun. I don't know what you think about this whole situation around the church's role in terms of serving communities. Kobus, maybe you have a thought around that.
Reinhild, I think a church is a very good platform, but for me it's about the principles, and something that we are very passionate about is to say that at the moment you have a culture where everybody outside of Africa always think that they have to come and sort out the issues of Africa and address Africa's problems. But I believe in the African continent we have the ability to address world problems. Within Africa, if you look at things like healthcare, it's a known fact that and now with the impact of COVID, it's even worse. I think we're going to have a huge shortage of healthcare workers. And through training and with technology as it is going in lately, we can reach people that previously could not be reached, and we can train millions of people in Africa to become healthcare workers. That's just an example. So I honestly think that what I would like to see is the mind shift change. Like Johann also mentioned, is that current culture of we need to be served or we need to receive, to turn that around and say, okay, but how can we address from in Africa world problems? And I think using a church as a platform is actually a very, very good idea, because I think you have already established a community of good faith, something that people trust, and yeah, if you can utilize that network that the church have created already, that's another step how you can just really reach the right people with things like training and education.
Yeah, I can just add to that, Reinhild,
yes.
Just quickly. I mean, yes, like any other institution, there will be some, and in this context, I'm going to use parentheses, some churches that don't really comply with what the principle of the church really is about, right? But ultimately, it's about serving. And that is exactly what we're saying. As leaders, there's no difference between our role to the communities that we serve compared to what the role is of a church in the community that we serve. I have 20 people ringing my bell every single day asking for food. And I don't have to give them food. I have to point them 3 blocks further to the church that already has the network, has the supply chain and so forth to be able to serve their needs. So they don't actually have to walk around. They can just go to the local church and receive a revival in terms of their energy, their belief in hope in a better world. And they have an enormous support structure and food and shelter and so forth. So the church, I think, does play a very critical role in elevation of the continent. And the principles I think we need to adopt as leaders, and the principles of real churches, not unfortunately, we do see some situations where people call something a church and it's not. But a church in the right sense of the word speaks to community, speaks to service. And I think that is something that we must all live towards, whether within a church context or without.
Thank you very much. It's always very frustrating that these interviews are only around 30 minutes and there is so much that one would like to talk about. But I'm going to ask you, Johann, to just and actually I'm going to ask each one of you, and I know that sometimes in a workshop context this puts people on the spot, so I'm sorry if I'm doing that, but I'm just going to ask you, since we are talking to an audience that is in Africa, we are talking to an audience that loves Africa, we're talking to an audience that wants to make a difference in Africa. What is the one message that you would like to share with people who see this video?
I will start. So from my side, it is, Reinhild, it is, if you have to act. People always, they have good ideas, they have good intentions, but they don't act. And if you don't act, nobody else will do it on your behalf. If you want to achieve something, nobody else will be as motivated as you are yourself to make it happen for yourself. So for me, it's just a matter of don't sit and wait for other people to act. Just do that change, be that change yourself.
Thank you very much.
Never give up. That's one of our mottos, never give up. I think a lot of people give up just before they actually reach their goal or, where they want to be. And, a number of people always also feel that they might not have the means or the opportunities or even the capital to make a difference or to reach their dreams. And what we want to say is it might take a little bit longer, and you might not see the fruits of your labor coming about in a year or two. It might take 10 years, but if you're really passionate about that, never give up. And what we have learned in those 4 years that we have been a startup is you have your ups and you have your downs. And, the downs are bad, but the ups are wonderful. And, so it's almost, balancing itself out. And you need, unfortunately, to go through the bad patches as well, because that gives you resilience and, commitment. And it also makes you, check whether your dreams and, what you want to achieve is perhaps aligned with reality. But never give up. And, if you act and you never give up, then you are bound to be successful. As many examples out there, from a sporting, or just a normal day-to-day story can actually tell you.
Thank you very much. Johann, last but not least.
Sure. Reinhild, there's so much that comes to mind. I think maybe 2 points. The first is that you should never look for external people to establish and determine your value. Every person on this continent has value to contribute. Maybe a very short anecdote about the boy that ran on the beach and he saw millions of starfish that was spilled out of the ocean. And he was throwing back these starfish one at a time, picking them up, throwing them back. And a wise man came walking down the beach and said, "There's millions of starfish. What difference do you really think you can make?" And the boy thought for a moment, quietly picking up one starfish, threw it back, and he said, "I'm pretty sure I made a difference to that one." And I think that is a really valuable story. Every single person has something to contribute. And maybe I should stop right there, because otherwise it's a lot of different thoughts that come to mind in closure, which becomes another 30 minutes. But I think if you believe in yourself and you have the grit, you have the perseverance, there's absolutely nothing that can stop you. It will be difficult. You will have failures. Just ask Edison in terms of the light bulb. There's a million failures, but it's worth persevering. It's worth having grit. It's worth getting up and just trying again and again.
Thank you, guys. This was really a very insightful conversation, and I'm sure that our viewers will agree that it is great to know that there are some real go-getters here in Africa that are not going to give up. And the reason I think why we as a group are not giving up is because we know that there's hope in Christ, and that what we do here on earth is just a very short time, and what comes after is much longer, and that really just being able to have that hope gives enormous energy. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as I did. I'm sure you can see that there's a lot of interesting things happening at Converge Solutions with these three dynamic men. And if you want to get in touch with either of them, you are very welcome to visit their website. I'm placing the link to the website for Converge Solutions in the description of this video on YouTube below. And you're also welcome to contact them on LinkedIn. Looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. Have a lovely day.